All right, welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to a special Tuesday edition of your TFFL webcast. It's Tuesday, November 22nd. We're looking ahead to Week 12 TFFL action. I'm joined, as always, by our commissioner, skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, Chief.
Happy pre-Thanksgiving.
Indeed, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. The three-time defending champions and trending back toward the playoffs again. Jack's Giant Killers. Berto, welcome.
Hey, Stick. In spirit of the trade season we just went through, here's a bit of a quote.
Yeah, it's about right.
When?
Yep.
All right, and our technical director hanging in there this week from a secret bunker.
Yes, I've had to move my webcast headquarters. My in-laws are in town for Thanksgiving. So yes, thank you. Technical difficulties aside, here we are, Tuesday, Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, nice when they come 2 days early.
Yes, indeed.
And the K-Wheels, big win, 9-2 now, top of the league. Well done. Well done.
Northern Conference champions. Let us not soft sell the lead. Champs of the North. Got it right.
Congrats.
Thank
Congrats. You. Well earned.
Hang that banner.
Yes, we will be hanging that banner in the rafters and then preparing to get the banner we want.
All right, and our special guest, we've been trying to get him on the webcast for 2 months now. Rob Iannuzzi of the Boba Fats, welcome.
Hello, fellow owners. Good to be back.
We've had you on the webcast before.
I have been on the webcast before, and yeah, it's been a crazy fall. A lot of people in town. It's tough to get the Wednesday nights free, it seems like, every time I've been on the docket. I think there was 1 or 2 weeks. No, there was 1 week where I was ready to go, and we canceled it. So
This big project that you just had, how much bigger was it than Project Cordillera?
What's Project Cordillera?
That's Berto.
Project Mountain Range.
Right.
That was SAP, baby.
I don't know.
But you're done now.
I definitely didn't work on this project from Hooters in Myrtle Beach, though. So
What was it in your signature for your email? Project lead on Project X?
no.
So it couldn't have been that important then.
No.
For 2 years, Berto's email sig. Project lead, Project Cordillera.
Yes.
All right. We digress.
That was a big SAP project. One of the biggest ever, by the way.
All right. So Hank was talking about burying the lead. Yeah, we got a lot of big headlines to talk about this week. We just hit the trade deadline. We'll talk about some of the deadline deals. The Beavers over 100 points this week, high scores. Hank, yeah, you mentioned it. K-Wheels, Northern Conference. I think pretty much have the #1 seed wrapped up. It's still got a little work to do, but the SoCo East suddenly up for grabs. All 3 teams back in it. The Giant Killers back in the hunt. We got a Aliens Lizards showdown this week, and I think we have a race for the #1 draft pick. All of a sudden, lots to talk about. 2 weeks to go. But first, as always, let me give you a TFFL trivia question. Hank, in a snap, can you tell us what the standings are?
I can. Hang on just 1 second here.
Rob, you understand you're representing the guests in their entirety.
I do.
Very important competition.
Yeah, big responsibility.
Okay. With last week's webcast, Chief got 3, Berto had 1, and Borkman as our guest had 1. And that leaves the overall standings thus far at Chief with 10 points, the guest with 7, Hank with 4, and Berto with 4. So, Berto, we are terrible.
Okay. Making up some ground tonight. We got a multi-parter.
Yeah, we got lots of questions tonight, right, Stick?
All right, I'm going to give you the chance for 6 possible points today.
Oh my God.
6. Excellent.
All right. So we've played 19 full seasons now. We have 19 packed bowl champions. We have 4 divisions. I want you to rank those divisions from top to bottom in terms of which divisions have the most collective packed bowl titles. I'll give you a hint that 2 of the divisions are tied for last place. So I'm going to give you a point for ranking each of those divisions properly. That's 4 possible points. I'm going to give you an additional point for those 2 divisions that are tied for last. Name the team in each division that last won the Pac Bowl.
Wait, repeat that last part.
There are 2 divisions tied for last. Name the team in each of those 2 divisions that last won a packed bowl for that division.
Piece of cake.
Wait, what was the second question?
All right. Second part of the question. There are
Yeah.
two divisions that are tied for last place in terms of most overall pack bowls.
Yeah.
In those 2 divisions, tell me which team last won a packed bowl on behalf of that division. Which franchise is the most recent packed bowl winner? All right, let's move on. Hank, real quick, set the stage. We've played 11 weeks now. Where do we stand? Kick things off. K-Wheels are at the top.
Well, and yes, so selfishly, I will say that the lead story is that the K-Wheels have clinched the Northern Conference Championship, have the bye, and will be playing in the playoffs as we go. The other big news is that the Hormel Hams have clinched the South SoCo West Division, and now have got that place locked up. As Stick already kind of mentioned, the lead. The Aliens and Lizards game is going to largely determine the outcome of that division, and so that's almost a play-in game for the playoffs. The loser of that game still is going to have a chance at some wild card points, but it's going to be crowded. The other battle is in the SoCo East. Devils have let everybody else back in. Beavers have been on a roll. Mongols have been steady, and the Devils have been falling. They all get to play each other. We're going to have a big battle royale there. And, really the Packers and the Senators and the Fish, the Sponge, they probably plan for next year. Everybody else has still got something and a hope to play for.
All right, let's jump right into it. And as you guys did last week, let's make sure our guest jumps right into things here. Rob, we're going to throw a few questions your way. Let's just start by asking you about the state of the Boba Fats. We're 5-6 right now. Playoffs are looking iffy. Do you still have some hope? What were your expectations coming into this year, and where do you go from here?
Well, I think I have the same expectations as all of you, is making the playoffs and having a good run. It's been a tough year. I was thinking today, 5-2, right? Just a month ago, I was 5-2, and here we are. But obviously, I still like the state of the team. There'll be some interesting keeper decisions next year, I think. Do I keep Wentz or stick with Stafford, that type of thing. Running backs will be pretty interesting outside of Gurley next year. Still feel like I have a pretty strong wide receiver corps going into 2017. Obviously, there's been some guys that have been a huge disappointment. I mean, right at the top. You guys probably all remember how excited I was to get Jeremy Maclin in the draft. What a disaster that's been. Just a complete and total disaster. Which sucks. A lot of guys kind of all over the place this year. Pretty disappointing. Not even like losing games by, scoring 60 points and losing. Like this past week, losing to Rich after he had a terrible start. and I was only down by like 8 or 10 points going into Monday night with Murray and Crabtree to go. I was like, oh, I got this in the bag. Went to bed. So kind of a disappointing season for me. Very frustrating. Very frustrating.
And that would have changed things though if those guys had come up with 15 points or whatever.
Yeah, with anything. Yeah, if Stafford had done anything, had AJ Green not gotten injured this weekend, so frustrating.
So, Fats, you mentioned Macklin in the first round. What was the thought process there? That was one question I had. What was what pushed you over the edge to Macklin versus somebody else?
Well, at that point, remember, right? We were looking at what, 2, maybe 3, like running backs. What I had the 4th pick, I think, right? And he was, Nick didn't keep him. He had a good season last year, right? I think he had like 1,400 yards. I like my wide receiver core, but you get an established player like that early in the first round, you can't really pass up on it. And then there were a lot of question marks for a lot of guys after that pick.
Yeah, you actually had the 3rd pick.
3rd pick.
Yeah.
Some of the guys after that panned out. Some of them didn't. So I was excited to get him. I was real excited. Starting wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver, right? Not a bona fide stud, but definitely a guy you can plug into that number 2 spot and feel pretty comfortable each week. Didn't pan out that way. So what are you going to do?
I think the second part of that question is you came into the draft with 4 receivers on your keeper list. We're all pretty good. You don't keep receivers unless they're really good receivers. And 2 running backs. I think 1 strong. We had Gurley and
Murray.
That's 2 strong running backs. So, okay, I understand you take Macklin. If he's the best player you have on your board, and I can understand that. What were you hoping to do with your 3rd running back spot at that point? I mean, was you looking to get a tight end? Did you get Kelsey in the 2nd round? Is that the way you went? Okay, so you were looking for Kelsey to be your every week RB3?
Yep. Maybe, I can't recall the exact situation of who I was targeting in the 2nd round, but somebody like that, like there was a lot of running backs out there that you can fill in a 3 spot, and there were going to be, I could have got the best tight end off the board at that point, who was Kelsey. So I wasn't too worried about it. I could have taken a running back, one of the kind of 2nd tier guys in the 1st round. I could have taken whomever, Gaye. Not confident in a lot of those guys, but I was confident that Macklin was the best player available, and then I could figure out the other piece, which was who was I going to start in that 3rd running back spot. And I think Kelsey worked out okay. He started for me a bunch this year, but he's not putting up huge numbers, so that's it.
So I think it's interesting. We talked a lot in the offseason about whether you would keep Stafford or Jameis Winston. You ultimately kept Stafford. You're kind of back in the same situation all around. You still only have the 2 running backs. You have a good stable of receivers, and here you are again with Stafford and a different very young running back, in this case Carson Wentz. And Stafford's had a great season. Has your thinking changed at all here? Should we expect Stafford to be the guy heading into 2017?
What do you mean I only have 2 good running backs? What about Theo Riddick?
He's awesome.
We'll see. It's a long time away. A lot can happen in 9 months.
Indeed.
You are a guy, I believe, who would prefer that we only had to play 2 running backs week to week.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of roster starting lineup adjustments. Less running backs, definitely.
What would you do? What would you do instead? You'd say, yeah, like mandate a tight end, or would you just get rid of a position?
I think what I would do is, and we talked a lot about this at the draft actually, was 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and then a flex
So
where you could start
you lose the
a running
roster.
back, running back, wide receiver, or tight end in that flex, that fit, kind of skill position, non-quarterback skill position.
I would argue heavily against dropping from 6 skill position players.
I know you would, but that's just the way I feel.
That's the game. It's about that 5th and 6th guy coming through and being the difference.
What if they were 2 flex positions?
We talked about that. I think I would be on board with that.
Could you?
But it's interesting though, because times of we've been arguing about this for a long time, right? Especially when 10, 15 years ago, when a lot of teams did have that one stud running back, right? And 3 running backs. Nowadays, you get guys who's got 15 touches, you're psyched, right? It's interesting how the conversation's changed over the last 10, 15 years when you don't have these guys who are rushing 25, 30 times a game. There's like so many more players involved now that it may not make sense to go down to 5 spots, Bill. You might be right.
Yeah, the thing I find funny is that because, as you said, you have fewer teams with every down running back and 2 and 3 man committees, it's easier to find a running back. Instead of dealing with 32, you're dealing with now 50. But you got to accept, they're not going to score 12, 14 points every week. You might have to be satisfied with, 6, 7, 8. So I think there's actually more running backs you can be comfortable starting. I think the expectations have to be lowered. I would totally be on board with mandating a starting TE and having a flex position then. So you change the flex from tight end, running back, wide receiver to only starting 2 running backs, a tight end, 3 and 2 wide receivers, and then the flex position. And I think that would, to the extent it's a problem, which I say it isn't, but I think that'll get the lineups back to where people feel more comfortable about starting some of these running backs or not starting them, because you only need to start 2 if you choose.
I hate the mandatory tight end idea. There aren't 12 good tight ends, and whoever's got, the Jimmy Graham or the Gronkowski of the day has got such a huge advantage.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah,
I feel better saying there's 12 tight ends worth starting than there's 24 running backs.
I disagree. There's definitely 24 running backs.
I think this all goes back to whether you think it's a problem or not. I think it's fun. I think our league is unique in this sense, the way we have it structured. I'm not a purist by any stretch of the imagination. If something makes sense to change it, let's change it. But I also think it's kind of cool because it adds that the way we have it structured, you have to fight and scrap to fill that slot, that 6th slot. You have to be judicious with your waiver and IR picks, and I think it adds an element of strategy there. So I'm not saying that I would be against a change, but I think change for change's sake is you're gonna, maybe you're gonna equal the playing field a little bit more than we want to, and water things down a little bit. I don't think that's the direction we should go.
I like what we have.
Well, let me wrap up with the Fats and Rob. It's my job as host to be a little more blunt, perhaps, than my colleagues. You know what the rules are. You have to play 3 running backs. You have 4 keeper wide receivers. And obviously, you know what? Actually, a lot of this would be smoothed over if Todd Gurley were out there scoring 15 touchdowns. But when he's not, it's really tough to have good running backs to bring in if you're not taking advantage of those high draft spots where you can get a Jay Ajayi or
Christine Michael.
Christine Michael would have worked out fine the first half of the year. I wonder what Pete Carroll is thinking now about Christine Michael.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Stick, you might be right. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's the way I chose to play it. And I still think it was the right move. It didn't work out, but I'm still confident in that move.
If you had to take one of those running backs, who would you have taken?
Which one? You guys before me?
The Giant, Kristen Michael, Dixon,
D'Angelo.
Yep.
I don't know.
Never even a thought. So okay.
I mean, I toyed with D'Angelo Williams. What I really wanted to do, and I tried hard to do, was trade back in the first round.
Yeah.
We should have had a serious conversation about that then, because I would have done that.
And I didn't have any luck. I can't remember. You weren't really on my target. I still wanted to stay in the first. Did you? You had a. Well, I don't remember, but. Anyways, yeah, that's just how it worked out, you know.
And in fairness to Rob, he was kind of in a tough spot. I'm a little fuzzy right now, but basically we had 2 top draft picks, and then it went off a cliff at number 3, relatively speaking. Nobody wanted to trade up to number 3.
Right.
Well, Rob and I didn't really seriously talk about it at the house because I got the sense that he was actually telling me the truth and not blowing a smoke screen. So I don't think we ever got to the. My question was, are you taking Michael? Who are you taking? He was pretty adamant about Macklin. He could have been lying to me and thrown up a smoke screen, but
I was definitely not going to take Christine Michael, that's for sure.
And again, kudos to Rob because all prior to the draft, throughout the even leading up in the minutes prior to the draft, he was clear. He was going after Macklin. He's still confident in the pick right now. Good for you.
And in this offseason, he'll be available for trade. Bargain basement prices. Easy to keep him.
Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball in Kansas City.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of trades, were you active on one side or the other, the trade market?
I did have a good amount of conversations going. I was close on a couple of deals too, and I ended up not making a move because I thought I could make a move into the playoffs. And Richie having such a bad Thursday night kind of reinforced that feeling with me. So I ended up not trading anybody, and I had some guys that were good trade bait. So I'm a little disappointed that I didn't make the move, but I thought I had it. But yeah, I had a bunch of conversations going mostly about running backs, but there was one conversation about a wide receiver too. So
I'm wondering if there's any merit to pushing our trade deadline back a week, perhaps.
I was thinking about that. What do we think about the Wednesday before Thanksgiving? There's a mad scramble on that Sunday before the games, right? On the Sunday before. And actually, Chief, you got to take 3 points away from the impact too, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't done the adjustments yet. I understand that.
But I think it causes some angst on getting the lineups in and changing the lineups. Why don't we just push it back to the Wednesday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Do you think that would result
what
in
additional
more trades?
No, because then it's gonna want to push until Sunday games. If we're gonna do it to week 12, which is fine if you're gonna do it to Sunday games. I like it where it is now. I don't disagree. There have been a lot more action, but. I was a seller then. I'm still a seller now.
Well, we had a lot of teams at 500 or plus or minus that, like me, right? I was afraid to make a move, so I didn't. It's not always like that.
All right. Speaking of moves, let's move on to our next segment in the roundtable, and it's talking about the moves. Last week, Berto, I think you set the over/under on trade deadline deals at 3.5.
Yes.
Is that where we settled?
Yep.
And again, I'm a little fuzzy right now, but I believe we ended up with
Five.
5.
There were 5.
Okay, then we definitely cleared it. Okay.
For the record, Chief is the only one who took the over too. He nailed it.
There's one trade in particular that I know merited a lot of immediate discussion. There may be others you guys want to talk about, but the AMPAC busy again at the deadline, and I think there was a sense that the Hams came out on the winning end here immediately. I might disagree with that a little bit, but let me throw it out to you guys. The Hams are getting Ryan Matthews, getting Snead, giving up Tyler Eifert, Terrell Pryor, and a 4th-round pick. What's your take?
I think I haven't changed my opinion. That's a steal for the Hams. You know, getting rid of 2 guys who are not going to keep, and frankly, the AMPAC shouldn't keep either. You know, a guy like Snead, who will help them or might potentially help them. You never know what injuries are going to pop up. He's not a keeper, but he's a hell of a good throw-in. And Ryan Matthews, who might not be kept either. But again, he'll help him win a Pac Bowl. I love the aggressiveness of the Hams. I think they're really them and the Giant Killers are really the only teams that have been aggressive the last 2-3 years. I would say maybe to a lesser extent the Aliens, maybe the Senators. They're making all the right moves, and I don't understand this from Ralph's perspective. It's not like he has a whole lot of better keeper options. He's not going to get one from his free agent pick. I understand he's got to pick up another running back with the 1st or 2nd pick of the draft next year. Yeah, understood. But Berto tells me he offered a number 2 pick for that. Maybe you don't get those 2 quasi-throwing guys, but it seems to me Ralph sold a lot lower than he needed to.
If I asked you who the one player is in this deal who's most likely to be a keeper-worthy guy, I'm answering Terrell Pryor. So I think Ralph gets the one guy who maybe has got a decent upside as a keeper, and Ralph is getting the highest pick in the deal, a 4th-rounder. The more I look at this, I think it's fine for Ralph, and I think he'll like it a lot more in 6 months.
I think Matthews is still the most likely keeper here. Sproles is clearly old. He's good. He's old. Pryor, we got Corey Coleman coming back, or just starting to get into the flow of things. We'll push Pryor down to the number 2 receiver range, and I don't know if he's an exciting guy. He's good. He's kind of like the guy. Is it Will Fuller in Houston right now? Mm-hmm. Same kind of guy. Braxton Miller. Exciting guys. But at the end, I don't know if the opportunities and the numbers are going to be there. Maybe they will.
I'll put it this way. I think Snead and Terrell Pryor kind of cancel each other out. I think Snead's a good player and a good offense. For the record, I offered Ralph Hunter Henry in a 2nd. He likes Henry. I think Henry's a good player, good tight end. But he didn't want to add another Charger to his team because he already has a couple Charger keepers. So
do it for the pick. Who cares if you don't keep Henry?
Well, yeah, no, but I think he wanted somebody who he could keep too. So I don't think it's horrible for the AMPAC, but I don't know. I think Ralph wanted to get himself a viable tight end, and I think he sees Eifert as that. And frankly, Eifert had a great year last year until he got banged up, and he was banged up this year a little bit. But he can be a very good player. He got in the end zone a lot. He got a lot of TDs last year when he was healthy.
And Ralph likes his tight ends.
Just as a quick aside, going on the Chief Stoner thing we started last week, Chief's beer of choice this week is Finest Kind IPA from Smiley Nose Brewing Company, Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Very nice.
Good beer. Drinking the finest kind.
Nice.
I have one of my favorites. Samuel Smith Oatmeal Stout.
It's a classic.
The classic, indeed.
All right. I just want to quickly chime in on the Giovenco brothers again collusion trade of Ralph dumping his bench to help Michael build his bench for the Pac Bowl run. And Michael gave up nothing that he was going to keep. He gave Ralph a fourth rounder. Ralph gave up nothing that he really cared about keeping. Whatever.
Yeah. No, I don't think Ralph would, in terms of TFFL, you know, you want to talk kickers for defenses, whatever, handshake agreements, wink and nods, fine. There's no way Ralph doesn't want to take advantage of his brother as well as every other player in this league when it comes to trading.
That's for sure.
So are there any of the other trades you guys want to talk about, or would you prefer to talk about the fact that we really didn't have a big blockbuster trade at the deadline?
No, I think the quote that I showed in the beginning was apropos. My counter offer to your counter offer is go fuck yourself. And I got and I gave out a couple of those. I went back and forth with the Beavers on a player who was kind of the apple of my eye. That didn't happen, but
my guess is your offer was woefully inadequate.
Yeah. I mean,
you seem like the kind of guy who would offer like a future 4th round pick.
No, this was a decent pick, and you know, it wasn't meant to be, but this guy's blowing up all of a sudden.
Yeah. One other trade I'll highlight because of what could be: Lizards picking up Tim Hightower.
Yep.
We've heard nothing about Mark Ingram's status since the game, and Lizards might very well not make the playoffs. I think they probably will. I think if they escape the skin of their teeth, you know, Sunday, Hightower can end up being a game changer in the short term, especially for the Lizards who really don't have viable running backs.
Mm-hmm. Hightower did it last year. Yep. Okay, so you know, I remember when we first started doing the webcast, one of the more bold and actually insightful things we heard and revealing things was Chief confessing that one of the reasons he gave up Tom Brady, Chief, you'll remember, I'm sure,
I do.
is a fear of low-scoring fantasy games in winter weather late in the year when it matters most. I've been in that position. I remember watching a Week 13 game in the basement of Roadside when the Steelers, I think, were playing the Jets in that heavy snowstorm, and I think I had Jerome Bettis at the time, and you know, I think that game was, you know, like 10-6 or something, and nobody got any yardage and nobody scored, and here we are again last week. Aliens K-Wheels, big game. I was telling Phil, I was telling my wife the morning of the game, you know, winds, you know, blustering up to 40, 50 miles an hour in Cleveland and DC and New York. I was actually looking at Sam Bradford and Brock Osweiler instead of Ben Roethlisberger. But of course you start Ben, and damn it, of course he scores 4 points. So I'll tell you, I think going forward, I'm probably going to put a little more weight into the schedule late in the season, not just for kickers. I always like to see kickers playing in a dome. But how much of a factor is this for you guys in your roster building? Will it be more so going forward? You know, of course, factoring in climate change.
Let me just clarify real quick. I didn't get rid of Brady for the hell of getting rid of Brady. If I still had him, he'd probably make the playoffs the last couple of years. You know, I had Phillip Rivers at his late prime as an alternate. Brady was a pretty good trade chip for me to get a running back. But you're right. I had so many seasons derailed when a league MVP. I mean, that historic record-breaking 2007 season, 50 touchdown season, and he pulled a 1, you know, my playoff game because of, you know, 60-mile-an-hour winds, snow, and everything else. I think it's great, but the fact is, I think you want a better quarterback in the North than a lesser quarterback in the South or in a dome. You might not make the quarterback. You might not make the playoffs if you rely on a different quarterback. So yeah, that was a specific set of circumstances that led to that trade.
Yeah, but then look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He's won some championships.
He's had some good games outside in December. And you watch these guys play, and these guys know how to play in the weather. I mean, yes, if there's a gale force wind or a downpour or a snowstorm, that's no good. But I'm not, when I'm drafting, I'm not looking necessarily at who teams are playing in weeks 12, 13, 14. And maybe that's just my shortcoming of not thinking that far ahead. But if I'm picking up free agents or looking at matchups, yeah, sure, I'll look ahead to that point. But I don't know that I'm going to build my team around week 15, 16 matchups.
Weather, no, but matchups, of course. But I don't literally look at the weather too much, except the kickers. But matchups, absolutely, you have to. Who's playing the Packers? Who's playing the Saints? Who's playing the Redskins, etc. But weather, no.
Nope.
Well, you've got Matthew Stafford. This who knows? Maybe this will be part of your big decision, Rob. You got Stafford playing indoors versus Carson Wentz playing outdoors in Philly late in the year.
Yeah, maybe the dome will be the clincher.
You'll have to write in to the TFFL webcast and tell us how that thought process goes.
I will. Can you send me the address again?
All right. So, guys, tell me if there's something else you want to talk about. You want to talk about the title favorites? You want to talk about the race for the #1 draft pick? The SoCo East suddenly super tight. Lots to talk about. Let me throw it out to you guys. What are you looking at right now?
Did anybody see the Sponge Fishermen being eliminated from the playoffs with 2 games left? Because I sure as hell didn't.
Yeah, Chief, that you took it on the chin this year. I mean, condolences.
And yeah, I had 2 running backs leave in the first half this week. Ingram and McCoy, but I ended up losing by 25 points. So it's a loss is a loss is a loss. Man, tough season. So that's my 30-second dirge for the 2016 Sponge Fisherman.
Well, Stick. I think the other thing, yeah, that sucks, Chief. But Chief, Stick, what about the injuries? Who got stronger? Who got weaker?
I got a lot weaker, but it doesn't matter.
We also got to acknowledge the Beavers in their 100-point-plus game, and turning that division into chaos. The Devils, had it seemed like they were kind of running away a little bit in that division, and all of a sudden, the Beavers are hot. If they get in the playoffs, man, they're kind of scary.
I got an email from Bill not more than 7 to 10 days ago. Let me make sure I get the quote right here. Open for business.
Yes.
You guys might have gotten a similar email. He had given up on the season. Devils lose, Beavers win. Beavers also get the added momentum of going over 100. They're still a game down, but with 2 weeks to go, I think they've got a slight advantage in the division record.
They get them both. They get 2 games against the division.
Yeah. I said on the webcast last week, I said, look at the Beavers. That was the team I was looking at because Beavers, I think, have some talent. Rob Kelly stepping up.
Yep.
Rodgers is, the king of garbage time all of a sudden because his defense is terrible. So it's a dangerous team, and it's tough to believe completely in the Devils. So.
Did the Devils take a big injury this week too? I imagine that. I think the Devils got hurt by this week on.
Stephon Diggs is out.
Stephon Diggs is out.
Deshaun Jackson's out.
James White's value is taking a hit.
Yep.
Kristen Michael's value is.
Christian Michael, right? Is taking
Yeah.
a hit.
Now.
Yeah, the Devils are not quite as exciting as they were. They're hanging on at this point. Aliens lost CJ Procyse.
Yeah.
Really wasn't in the lineup quite yet. Hank was kind of happy he wasn't in the lineup even briefly this week.
Yep.
He looks like a good player, but he's done for the year. That should not throw me off too much. We had plenty of guys ahead of him in the running back order.
Rawls.
Yep, Berto gets Rawls. What's Gronkowski's status?
I haven't seen anything yet on him.
It is as tight-lipped as ever in Foxborough.
So you got lost Gronkowski, got Rawls.
We don't even know what his
Gio
injury is.
Bernard out.
Say that again, Burrow.
Gio Bernard out. Hill should get some more carries.
Yep.
Should be helpful.
AJ Green, obviously a big injury for the Boba Fats this week.
Helps Berto.
Come on, Fats. Come on.
And Andrew Luck probably not going to play on Thanksgiving.
Nope.
Which I don't think it doesn't impact the other races too bad. But I don't know. I'm playing. No, probably not.
Well, Chief, why don't you go ahead and give us our schedule for Week 12, our game of the week, and
I'm excited about this because I don't think I've featured these teams in the game of the week before. The game of the week is the Steel City Mongols against the Slippery Beavers. I'm sorry, I'm ahead of week. The Dirt Devils are the Steel City Mongols.
yes.
We've talked about the Devils. Devils were playing really, really well up until a couple days ago. And the Steel City Mongols. Terry was here a couple weeks ago, right? Terry was here, and he said, I believe I can go 3-0 against the slate, or 4-0, or 3-1, whatever it was. I like the way my team's matching up. He had a good performance last week. Des Bryant is playing better every week. But this is it. The Devils losing, the Beavers and Mongols both winning. We have a one-game division lead. Devils, as far as the division, it's a one-on-one thing. The Devils beat the Mongols back in week 1 or 2. I was looking at it prior to this broadcast. So I think this is really a must-win for the Mongols. I think the Mongols dropped this game. They're probably, it's harsh because they played so well lately, but I think they're done. I think they join the rest of us in the cash bowl should they lose this game to the Devils.
Yes.
We just went over Nick's problems with some injuries he's taken and some indirect effects of injuries. He's got that two-headed quarterback thing with Mariota and Cousins he has to make a call on, every week, which it's in a sense, it's obviously a good problem to have two quarterbacks you can trust, but you never want to take the wrong guy. So, just looking through the matchups right now, I really haven't before now. And it's going to be harder because they probably haven't done this. But, Bortles is who he is. Buffalo, they're at Buffalo this week, so he might be throwing a lot late. Mariota's in Chicago. Chicago's just rolled over and died now. I think Matt Barkley is starting for the Bears this week.
What's the weather like in these games, Chief? It's gonna affect quarterback.
Chicago is supposed to be windy.
Ooh.
So, it's going to come down to who's got those huge, if the Mongols can get, a big number of Devontae Freeman and a big number of Des Bryant, a big number from Larry Fitzgerald, Jamison Crowder has got to be the unsung hero of fantasy football for the last, 6 weeks. Rashad Jennings looked like a bona fide NFL running back last week. I like the Mongols here. Stephon Diggs, we just talked about, probably not going to play. We have Frank Gore against Pittsburgh with, what's his name, likely quarterback, and guy was kind of Scott Tolzien. All right. I don't think they're really going to put any fewer than 8 in the box at any time against Frank Gore. Rashad Matthews is a nice story, but that's probably their best player right now for the Devils for this week. So I right now, and Stephon Diggs is in the lineup for the Devils, so this isn't really accurate. The Mongols are 6-point favorites right now. I think the Mongols are going to win by double digits.
Hey, Chief. I always like your game predictions of the week or whatnot, but we got it. We got to be remiss in that. Stick has got a big game. Our leader here on the webcast is playing the Lizards in a game that's basically an elimination, or at least it's a division championship game. Basically, the winner of the Lizards Aliens game is going to likely win the NoCo West, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a big game. I seem to be featuring Lizards a lot last month or so. Let's try and get away from the clearly a big game. Other games, Giant Killers against Boba Fett's, Hams versus Sponge, Beavers at Senators, and Packers at K-Wheels. That's the slate.
Yeah, let's talk Boba Fett's Giant Killers for a second. If Rob beats the Giant Killers, what's the scenario there? They're both 6-6, and that's a huge game for the final wild card spot. I know the Beavers are kind of thinking they might backdoor their way into a wild card spot. But Rob, we're sitting here talking about it as if you're out of it. This is a huge game for you.
No, it is. It is, but it is. I mean, we got to win. Obviously.
It's going to take 7 wins. You got to win both your games.
Yeah.
You got to win.
You know what? I didn't go through the playoff scenarios right now. It's possible that he's already eliminated, even if he goes to 7-6. The way tiebreakers shake up. Rob's got 0 margin for error. I don't think he can win the division, right?
I've got 2 tough games. I just had my best players out basically for the rest of the TFFL season.
Yeah.
I've got I think I'm 0-3 in the division, right?
No, 1-2.
1-2. So there's a lot of things stacked against me. It's not out of the realm of the possibility,
but for a wild card.
Yeah, for a wild card.
Berto, I know how you're feeling. I've received emails from you.
Yes.
And frankly, for every franchise in this league, depending upon what week we're talking about, you're up here. It's a roller coaster, but you're feeling very good right now heading into week 12.
I do. I feel pretty good. I mean, I think Rawls coming back is like is like executing a big trade with, especially with Procise going down. So he looked great, by the way, Rawls. He did, true. I just the fact that having Rawls back, I think, is big. The only thing I got to get Gronk healthy, but other than that, I like my team right now.
Hey, Berto, are you going to start Matt Ryan against me?
I don't know. Right now, I got Prescott in there. That's how I'm leaning, but we'll see.
All right.
So.
Come on, Fats. Come on.
I'm working on it.
All right.
That is going to be a good off-season quarterback discussion for the Giant Killers.
I just made that note as a future webcast topic. And hey, a great pick, Berto. We'll talk more about it down the line, but obviously a great pick.
A good problem right now. Let's put it that way. And Eli against the Browns this week.
So real quick on Aliens Lizards, it's another huge game. I just had a huge game against the K-Wheels. We came up short. Ben obviously scoring 4 was a big factor. The Vikings defense scoring 12 was another big factor. But we lost that game. We lost the Northern Conference, and now it's the division title that's on the line. I'm a little nervous that, frankly, we could go from being 7-3 to 7-6 in a hurry. We got the Fats in week 13, and at 7-6, who knows? I got to get one more win, whether it's this week or next. I'd obviously like to do it now against the Lizards, clinch this, get the division and the $250. The Fats, you're not out of it. Berto's coming on for the wild card. Beavers are starting to play their way into this. And things do change a lot from week to week. So I'm very nervous until we clinch this. And the Lizards are obviously not going to be an easy way to do that in week 12. Okay, let me get you guys a trivia answer, and I think I've got 6 answers for you, so 6 possible points this week. We'll try to give you lots of opportunities to catch up in the standings here down the stretch. So I want you to rank 1 through 4 the divisions in terms of the number of collective packed bowls they have. So at the top, I'm going to ask you to score yourself on this first part of it. At the top should be the NOCO East, and I will tell you they have 9 collective titles, thanks in large part to the Giant Killers. Second place is another East, the SoCo East, with 6 collective pack bowl titles, thanks in large part to the Devils. So then you have 2, I told you there were 2 divisions that were going to be tied for last. They are the 2 Wests, the NOCO West and the SoCo West, with two collective pack bowl titles each. Only 2 in each of those divisions. So if you got those 4 right, give yourself 4 points. You'll have to tell Phil how many you got here.
We'll do it at the end.
Their other 2 points are in the 2 divisions tied for last. Name those divisions' respective most recent titleist. In honor of our guest, yes, the NOCO West's most recent Pack Bowl titleist,
Fats.
Boba Fats,
I got one wrong.
and that's a fair amount of time ago.
Learn your lore.
I knew that's good, Fats.
In the SoCo West, the Hormel Hams,
Yeah.
last
got
team
that
to
one.
win a title in that division.
All right. So how
I
many
got
points?
6.
You got all 6, Berto?
Yes.
Nice. You got me. I only got 5. Guest, how many did you get?
All 6 for the guest.
Nice. Chief,
6.
I'm the only one who missed one of them. Nice. Okay. Nice work, guys.
All right. All right, Chief, I feel like you've been saving some rants up, perhaps. Maybe just holiday wishes for us all.
Yeah, and I said to myself, I think coming off of last week's webcast, it's like, let me look for a rant and write it down and really store it up and build up some vitriol around it. And it didn't happen. And you know what the problem is? I work from home virtually 100% of the time now. So you don't leave the house. You don't get angry about shit. And that's just life.
I'm with you 100%.
So,
Nice.
no, I know rants. Yeah, I can rant about injuries, but I won't. Oh, listen, 3 Thanksgiving games.
Yep.
Pittsburgh, Indy looked a lot more interesting yesterday than it does today. Because usually that you can count on that late game on being a good matchup. Not being beholden to the Lions or the Cowboys schedule. 3 games, love it. Get out of bed. 12:30, I think, is the kickoff. So make sure you get your Vikings, Bears, Cowboys, Redskins, Colts, Steelers in your lineup. Even more importantly, make sure you get the ones you don't want to start out of the lineup. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the turkey, the pie, all the trimmings. And, I started writing the commissioner's report today. And, one of the things I wrote at the top was, most people can be thankful for shots in the playoffs. I'm not in that. But I'm thankful for the TFFL anyway. It's 9 long months to next year. So we wait till next year. But good luck to everybody this week. I hope you get your playoff dreams. I know, speaking of Stick and Hank, every year we drive down to the draft and we say one of us has to win it this year. It's been a pretty big drought for that car. So best wishes to Stick and to Hank and everybody else.
Thank you, Chief. I have a quick rant about the trade deadline and about the trading, the atmosphere of trades at the TFFL, and I don't have a suggestion, but making a trade in this league is almost impossible. And I say that in that unless you're really willing to mortgage a bunch of futures on somebody great, like Chief did with Luck, which is a fine trade, but again, it was in the off season. We all fall in love with our players. We all think that our guy is the next guy to go, and it's really hard to put a package of assets together and get players moved. And I don't know that I have a point to that, but I think I talked to almost everyone and got nowhere. So Good luck to everybody.
Phil, you know what would solve that? Would be less keeper spots.
Maybe.
So you know what would solve that issue is if you made better offers.
You know,
Maybe
I'm
so.
thankful that I didn't get a go fuck yourself from Berto as a counter offer.
Oh, I got some of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have. Go ahead, Berto.
No, I was just gonna say I hear what Phil's saying, but on the other hand, I mean, look at the flurry again. We'll go back to granted off season, but August 29th or whatever that day was.
That's the keeper.
Magical.
That's different.
The magical trade bonanza day.
That's
I
different.
think we're evolving, right? So people are better understanding the value of trading in season, and that's why, honestly, I think it's a trade deadline. I think one more week. I think if you give it till after this week, would spur some more action. If that's the intention of what we want to do, and that's what when you brought up before about the trade deadline changing, I was thinking about that today, and I said, you know what? Today would be the perfect day to have it before the 3 games on Thanksgiving, right? Do the trade deadline right before those 3 games on Thanksgiving. That was exactly what I was thinking tonight.
My only argument with that would be is that if for the situation this year, there's only 3 teams that were really out of it. You know, you got the AMPAC, the Senators, and the Sponge that were out of it. And they were out of it last weekend, and they're still the same 3 teams that are out of it this weekend.
No, Chief was still in it last week.
He's still in it last weekend. All right.
Yeah,
So
Chief
there
was
only
still.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that extending the trade deadline necessarily. I mean, Rob is still very much in it for a wild card. I'm not sure he's going to be open to giving away major assets.
Yeah, but maybe, Rob, would you be thinking right now that if I was offered something else, maybe I would pull the trigger on it because you lost this past week, or would you still be in the same spot?
Yeah,
Thought train.
I'd be more likely to trade.
There you go.
I
Rob
would be more likely to trade.
I'm in the same spot I was last Sunday or last week.
But now the Mongols and the Beavers are both back, within a game. They're less likely to trade, Here's the reality is we play a short 13-week regular season. We have only 12 teams. We're all getting better. I think the separation you're going to get over the course of that 13-week season is getting less and less. And I agree with the bottom line here, which is make better offers. Go do what the Mongols did last year. Put 2 first-rounders on the table for Chris Johnson. I was trying to figure out some massive offer to make for Odell Beckham. I couldn't come up with something that I wanted to do, but I was trying to have fun and go make big offers, people.
Not necessarily 2 number 1s for Chris Johnson, but anyway, your point well taken.
Fun fact: the 5 trades, the Hams or Senators was in every one of them for different reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
That the Hams have been very aggressive in building their team.
They have.
They paid a lot for Drew Brees. They paid a lot for Antonio Brown. They've given away a lot of draft picks over the next 2 years. But I think I would probably label them the favorite to win the Pac-Bowl. I know they'd be number 2 seed behind Hank, but I think their moves they've made would probably make them a stronger team.
All right. So Chief says Hams. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Bulletin board material. Nice.
Yep. Thanks.
I am proud to support my division mates once I'm out of it.
There you go. Hey, okay. Well, one last real true lightning round topic. It's Thanksgiving week. If Martha Stewart were our guest and we were all trading recipes, what one recipe would each of you pull out of your back pocket as your sneaky good thing that you could do on Thanksgiving?
I make the dressing, and I'm very good at it.
What did you say, Mike?
Cheeseburger pie. I don't necessarily make it for Thanksgiving, but it's good stuff. Poker night. It's a good poker night, but I guess it could work on Thanksgiving.
Cheeseburger pie, did you say?
Yes. It's delicious.
Might have to get that recipe from you.
Sure. I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, it's one of these things, not necessarily Thanksgiving because there's a lot of pies being made and not a lot of people eat them. but I make a good key lime pie, which is my all-time favorite dessert.
Wow, Chief.
You can make that for poker night, Chief.
Wow. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Delicious.
classic pumpkin pie for me.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Maybe we need to have a bake-off at the draft weekend.
Yes. We have bake-
Absolutely. I'm going to file that one away.
yes. Baking contest at the draft. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Best wishes in your Week 12 action. Again, it goes up and down every week. I'm not sure we're necessarily going to solve things this week. We could see some more separation. We could see some more bunching up. But one thing is for sure, when we get together next week, we will be looking ahead to the final week of the regular season. And that is the 1 week for sure that will give us some clarity when we're done. But we'll have lots to talk about again next week. I've already scribbled down a lot of topics. Rob, thank you very much for finally joining us.
Thank you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people on the panel who just out of habit will be rooting for you this week against the Giant Killers.
I'm sure that there will be 10 other teams rooting for me this week.
No.
Yes.
Come on.
Guilty.
10 teams rooting for the Fats.
Come on.
All right. Well, good luck. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to everybody on
Rooting for me?
Thursday. What's that, Berto?
Who's the other team rooting for me? Oh, Fats. All right. Never mind.
Well, I counted myself as automatically rooting for myself.
10 other teams. That's
Yeah.
11 total.
Gotcha. I thought maybe there was one rooting for me somewhere there. That's myself.
Yeah, 6 rooting for you.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a lonely place.
All right. Well, hopefully.
The Giant Killers fan club is very small.
Is there one? I don't think there is one.
In this household, it's huge.
Sure. All right. Well, hopefully everybody out there can find their lonely place a little bit on Thursday, getting away from the crowds, get to watch the games. But enjoy your Thanksgiving. Good luck in Week 12. We'll see you back here to talk about Week 13 in a week. Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, gents.